Smoke weed every day.
Hey guys, Teach over here, how you doing today? Right this minute, we are actually at the final of YCS Madrid. Now, YCS Madrid is the first YCS of the season, and basically that means that this is the first YCS since Jordan's Alliance came out, which means that there's a whole brand new meta. We're now going to finally see on a level, rather than just a regional or a small tournament, actually how these decks fare against each other. Obviously, the format has taken about a month to mature, so now we're hitting a point of the format where people are starting to side against each other, understanding what decks you actually need to side for, what decks are actually good, you know, have actually shown to be decent. So this YCS is taking on a lot of reinforced sort of statistics and play testing that's been happening for a few weeks. So a lot of people are coming into this tournament with a lot of confidence, as opposed to just testing the water, trying to find out what's good and what's not. One thing I have to say about this one is that there are a lot of Shaddolls. Surprisingly, almost a quarter of the entire showing of people at this 460 player tournament, 111 of them are Shaddolls, which is almost a quarter, by basically give or take about 10. So that's quite a lot of Shaddolls. Yeah, that kind of affects the rest of the tournament, because you realize that every time, every 4 people in this place, there's going to be one Shaddoll player. So if you have a bad Shaddoll matchup, then you're probably not going to do very well, because statistically, 1 out of every 4 games that you play, you're going to play a Shaddoll, and if you don't, you're very lucky. Right, so I have the breakdown here for the top 32, and then top 16, then top 8, and then the top 4. And obviously with the final happening, we can take on what we know from the top 4 and pretty much guess, which I already know what it is. So the top 32 of Madrid, 15 Shaddoll, okay, which is pretty surprising, because that's almost half. That's 1 off a half. That's like tier 0 kind of statistics. If half of the showing is one deck, you know, it's ridiculous. 6 Satellarknight, 4 Burning Abyss, and we have one-off decks like Gear and Artifacts, Mermail, 1 Mermail, 1 Infernity, 1 straight up Artifacts, 1 Burning Shaddolls, which they call Shabbis, Spellbook, and 1 Burn. Now, a lot of these one-off decks got knocked out of the top 32. I think there was a couple in the top 16, as I can see. Yeah, there was a couple of there. But ultimately, they all got wiped out by Shaddolls, and Shaddolls actually kept their showing. Because if we go into the top 16, we can see that the 11 Shaddolls managed to stay in the running. So now, I don't know what that is in statistics, but that's more than 2/3 of the people left in the top 16 are playing Shaddolls. So by this point, we can tell that Shaddolls are probably going to win the tournament. I mean, that was how it was perceived at the time, because you realize that if you're going to be playing against anyone, the chances are going to be a Shaddolls. 2 Burning Abyss, 1 Satellarknight, which means that 5 Satellarknight decks got knocked out of the top 32. Basically, for 5/6 of the representation of Satellarknight in top 32 got completely wiped out before the top 16. So now the top 16 is 1 Satellarknight, there's 1 Burning Shaddolls, and the Gear and whatever thing is still in it. However, if we go into the top 8, we can see that Shaddolls managed to keep 6 of themselves in the running. That means that there's chances are there was a couple of Shaddoll mirror matches, which means that you have to knock one of them out. And that means that there was 1 Burning Shaddoll which managed to keep itself going, and 1 Burning Abyss. So now that all the rogue decks got knocked out, and Satellarknights got knocked out, and basically most of the Burning Abyss that were there were going are all knocked out as well. So by this point, 3/4 of the running was Shaddolls. So we knew by the top 4 that there was going to be Shaddolls, and actually the Burning Shaddoll and the Burning Abyss decks got knocked out of the top 8, meaning that the top 4 had 4 Shaddolls. So Shaddolls completely took over, and that means that the final will be 2 Shaddolls. What does that mean? I mean, in terms of prices, I would say Shaddolls are going up. I mean, some people are trying to sell Sinister Shadow games for 30 each. Some people are trying to sell Winders for 30 each. That's in pounds, by the way. So if you convert that into dollars, that's about $40-ish, depending on Yu-Gi-Oh! Economics sort of thing. So that's like pretty ridiculous, considering that like the deck is good. It's just that you really need 3 Winders, and you need 2 Construct, you need all this stuff. The deck is getting very expensive. But on the other side of the spectrum, we actually see that the Satellarknights did absolutely terrible, which obviously they managed to get 6 spots in top 32, which isn't bad. But they actually didn't do very good at all, and the Burning Abyss did not do very good at all. So that means that Dante may tank at a price. It may actually start decreasing as well, but Dante is so pivotal for the deck's success that the card may still go up, because Burning Abyss is kind of good depending on if you're a good player, as opposed to whether or not the deck is good, because the deck has a lot of things that you can do with it, and a lot of players miss things, or they kind of go with the safe option of how to play it. But it's like Shaddolls, where if you take your time and think about every different avenue that you can take, you start to notice brand new combos and stuff like that. So I would say that with Satellarknights, which is probably going to tank the most, I would say that Deneb and Nova are going to go down in price. And I don't saying it's going to happen, but I think it will probably happen. So if it doesn't, then it doesn't, but if it does, then you know that this is going to be the reason, because Shaddolls are going to go up. People are dropping Satellarknights, going on to Shaddolls, because they can see here by these statistics that Shaddolls are the better deck for the format. So the last thing I want to take from this YCS was whether or not it actually counts, because now it was the top 4, and I just watched the feature match of Joshua Schmidt, who is a very, very good German player, against Federico Zoppini, who is a very, very good Italian player. So the fact that both of them managed to get to this spot, obviously because they're both very good players, but during the feature match, Joshua Schmidt not cheated, but he made 2 misplays, or 2 cheating mistakes twice. One of them was that he tributed Shaddoll Core for a Shaddoll Beast, and then he activated Core's effect and returned Shaddoll Fusion to his hand, which we know he can't do because he didn't send Shaddoll Core with a card effect. He actually distributed it by a game mechanic. And the second cheat, which was actually the one that basically won him game 3, was that he activated Super Poly, took his opponent's monster away, which was a Dark. No, it was a Construct, which is a Shaddoll monster, and then he used his own Collapse Serpent, which is a Dark type, and then he summoned Shaddoll Construct, which you can't do because Construct on the opponent's side of the field counts as the Shaddoll monster for the fusion requirements, and his own Collapse Serpent is a Dark, which means that you have to summon Winder. So he summoned a Construct which requires a light attribute as a second material, so he summoned the wrong card, or not the wrong card, but he made an illegal play, and then he summoned BLS, which means that he attacked over his opponent's monster, which was a Hedgehog, and then he attacked again with BLS for directly, and then he attacked with Construct for game exactly. Federico Zoppini was at 5800 life points, so he took exact game, and then that was it. So if Joshua Schmidt did the right play and didn't actually got caught, then what would have happened is that Federico Zoppini would have been at 600 life points, because Winder is 600 life attack points less than Construct. So that would have changed completely everything, and in my opinion, whether or not that keeps the entire YCS valid, because there was judges, there was a lot of people watching, no one bothered to spot it, and obviously the people in the chat have noticed that there was a problem, and everyone was calling Joshua a cheater. And Joshua Schmidt has had instances of cheating in the past, and he's made mistakes, and it's caused him to be questioned whether or not he's actually just a giant cheater or not. So we're going to the final now, and it's going to be 2 Shaddolls. So it's a very interesting, and it's obviously the first YCS, so there's a lot to take from it. And I thoroughly enjoyed the coverage. I think it was very well done, much better than they do in the US for sure. So anyway, thanks for watching guys, and comment down your opinions of the YCS, and I hope to see you guys in a few days. So thanks for watching, and until next time, the Thetcglover is out.